There is a silent law moving through your life at every moment, shaping your future not through chance, but through the choices you make in the unseen corners of your mind. Every thought you entertain, every belief you accept, every decision you delay or embrace, these are the seeds of either progress or regret. Life is not withholding from you, it is responding to you. The difference between a life that expands and a life that contracts is not found in circumstances, but in the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. It is the choice to believe in possibility when appearances suggest limitation. It is the choice to act when fear whispers hesitation. It is the choice to trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you, but must be claimed through alignment, faith, and right action. Regret is not born from failure, it is born from hesitation. It comes from the moments you knew what to do, yet chose comfort over courage. It comes from ignoring the inner voice that gently insisted on growth, while the outer world offered excuses. Progress, on the other hand, is the natural result of obedience to that inner knowing. It is not forced, it is allowed. You are not here to struggle endlessly. You are here to recognize your power as a chooser. Each choice is a declaration to life. This is who I am, this is what I accept. This is what I allow. When you choose wisely, in alignment with truth, life reorganizes itself around your decision. Doors open, paths appear, and what once seemed distant becomes inevitable. Many wait for the perfect moment before making a move. But the perfect moment is created the instant you decide. Delay is the language of doubt, and doubt breeds stagnation. When you hesitate, you signal uncertainty, and life mirrors that uncertainty back to you. But when you choose boldly, even without all the answers, you activate a force that moves things into place on your behalf. There is no neutral ground. Every day you are either moving toward expansion or drifting into regret. The smallest choices compound over time. The decision to show up, to improve, to think differently, to act despite discomfort. These build momentum. And momentum carries you to places effort alone cannot reach. You must become aware of the choices you are making unconsciously. Choosing to dwell on fear is still a choice. Choosing to believe you are not ready is still a choice. Choosing to wait for permission is still a choice. And these choices, though subtle, shape your destiny just as powerfully as bold action. Replace these patterns with conscious decisions. Choose faith over fear. Choose movement over delay. Choose belief over doubt. These are not empty affirmations, they are instructions to your inner world. When accepted fully, they shift your reality. Progress requires a willingness to release what no longer aligns. Old identities, outdated beliefs, familiar limitations, these must be surrendered. Many cling to them because they feel safe, but safety without growth becomes a quiet form of regret. True safety lies in expansion, in becoming more of who you are meant to be. You are guided more than you realize. There is an intelligence within you that always knows the next step. It does not shout, it nudges. It does not force, it invites. The more you honor it, the clearer it becomes. The more you ignore it, the quieter it grows. Your progress depends on your willingness to listen. Do not measure your life by past choices. The power is always in the present moment. A single decision, made with clarity and conviction, can redirect your entire path. You are never stuck unless you choose to remain where you are. Let your choices reflect the life you desire, not the fears you have entertained. Act as the person who already trusts, already believes, already moves forward without hesitation. In doing so, you collapse the distance between where you are and where you wish to be. Regret looks back and asks, "What if?" Progress moves forward and declares, "Even now." The difference is not time, talent, or luck. It is the decision to step into alignment with what you know is right for you. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose now. The power of immediate, aligned decision-making is the quiet force that transforms intention into reality. It is the difference between knowing what is right and actually stepping into it without delay. Many people stand at the threshold of change, waiting for certainty, waiting for reassurance, waiting for conditions to feel perfect, yet life does not reward hesitation. It responds to clarity, to conviction, to the willingness to move the moment truth becomes clear within you. There is a deeper intelligence operating within you at all times, one that does not rely on logic alone. It speaks through instinct, through a sense of inner knowing that feels calm, direct, and unmistakable. When you feel it, there is no confusion, only a quiet certainty about what must be done. Yet the mind often interferes, introducing doubt, overthinking, and delay. This is where the separation occurs. The one who acts in alignment with that inner signal advances, while the one who postpones begins to drift into stagnation. Immediate decision-making is not reckless, it is responsive, it is rooted in trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that clarity does not arrive by accident. When you delay a decision that you already know is right, you begin to weaken that trust. You send a signal to yourself that your inner voice is not reliable, that your instincts are not to be followed. Over time, this creates confusion, not because guidance is absent, but because it is being ignored. Every aligned decision carries energy. The moment you commit, something shifts internally and externally. Your posture changes, your focus sharpens, your behavior aligns with your choice. Opportunities that were invisible begin to appear, not because they suddenly exist, but because your decision has tuned your awareness to them. Life meets decisiveness with movement. It does not respond to indecision with clarity, it mirrors it with more uncertainty. The habit of waiting is one of the most subtle forms of resistance. It disguises itself as caution, as preparation, as responsibility, yet beneath it often lies fear, the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of making the wrong move. But there is no perfect path revealed in advance. Clarity is not something you find before action, it is something you create through action. Each step reveals the next, and each decision refines your direction. Aligned decision-making requires honesty. You must be willing to admit what you truly want, what you know is right, and what you have been avoiding. This honesty is not always comfortable. It may ask you to release familiar patterns, to step away from what feels safe, to outgrow environments or identities that no longer serve you. But discomfort is not a sign of misalignment. Often, it is the signal of expansion. The longer you delay a necessary decision, the heavier it becomes. What could have been a simple step turns into a burden, filled with imagined consequences and amplified fear. The mind builds complexity around what was originally clear. Immediate action dissolves this weight. It breaks the cycle of overthinking and restores momentum. Momentum is powerful because it carries you forward even when motivation fluctuates. There is also a rhythm to aligned living. When you begin to act immediately on what you know, you enter a flow where decisions become easier, not harder. You stop second-guessing yourself because you have evidence that following your inner guidance leads to progress. This builds confidence, not as a concept, but as a lived experience. You begin to trust your timing, your instincts, and your ability to navigate uncertainty. Many people believe that making the right decision is about avoiding mistakes. In reality, it is about staying connected to alignment. Even if a decision leads to an unexpected outcome, it still moves you forward because it was made with clarity and intention. Indecision, however, keeps you in place. It preserves the illusion of safety while quietly creating regret. Your life is shaped not by the few major decisions you make, but by the countless small ones you either act on or postpone. The decision to start, the decision to speak, the decision to say no, the decision to commit, these define your direction. When made immediately and in alignment, they create a path that feels natural, almost inevitable. When delayed, they create friction, doubt, and missed opportunities. To strengthen this ability, you must reduce the noise that competes with your inner voice. Constant comparison, external opinions, and the need for validation can cloud your clarity. When you rely too heavily on the outside world to confirm your choices, you disconnect from your own authority. Aligned decision-making comes from within. It is not about proving something to others, it is about honoring what is true for you. There is also courage involved, but not the loud, dramatic kind. It is a quiet courage. The willingness to act without guarantees, to move forward without complete certainty, to trust that you will figure things out along the way. This courage grows each time you choose action over delay. It becomes part of your identity, shaping how you respond to challenges and opportunities alike. You begin to realize that time is not just passing, it is responding. Every moment you hesitate is a moment where nothing changes, where potential remains unused. Every moment you act is a moment where reality shifts, even if subtly. Over time, these moments compound, creating a life that reflects your decisions. Aligned decisions are often simple but not always easy. They require you to step beyond comfort, to release excuses, to take responsibility for your direction. But in doing so, you reclaim your power. You move from reacting to life to shaping it. There is no need to rush blindly, but there is a need to move when clarity is present. Better conditions often leads to the same place: stillness. Movement creates clarity, not the other way around. When you begin to live this way, you notice a shift in how life unfolds. There is less confusion, less internal conflict, less wasted energy. Decisions become cleaner, actions become more direct, and progress becomes more consistent. You stop feeling stuck because you are no longer delaying what you already know. You start to recognize that the moment of decision is the moment of creation, that every aligned choice is a step into a different version of your life, that hesitation is not protection but postponement of what is already waiting for you to claim. Choosing faith over fear in every moment is the quiet discipline that reshapes the direction of a life. It is not a single grand act, but a continuous inner decision, made again and again in the face of uncertainty, doubt, and shifting appearances. Fear speaks loudly, urgently, and with convincing logic, while faith speaks with calm assurance, often without evidence, yet with a deeper sense of truth. The path you follow depends on which voice you honor. Fear is rooted in limitation. It draws its strength from past experiences, imagined outcomes, and the need to control what cannot be controlled. It tells you to wait, to shrink, to avoid risk, to protect yourself from what might go wrong. It paints pictures of failure, rejection, and loss, keeping your focus fixed on what you wish to avoid. In doing so, it quietly shapes your decisions, guiding you towards safety at the cost of growth. Faith, on the other hand, is rooted in expansion. It does not deny challenges, but it refuses to be defined by them. It sees beyond the present moment, beyond current circumstances, and holds a vision of what is possible. It asks you to trust not only in outcomes, but in your ability to handle whatever unfolds. It moves you forward, not because the path is guaranteed, but because standing still is no longer acceptable. The choice between faith and fear is not always obvious. Fear often disguises itself as practicality, as realism, as careful thinking. It convinces you that you are being responsible by hesitating, by overanalyzing, by avoiding discomfort. But underneath this disguise is a reluctance to step into the unknown. Faith, in contrast, may feel uncomfortable, even irrational at times, because it calls you beyond what is familiar. It invites you to act before you have all the answers. Every moment presents an opportunity to choose. When you consider starting something new, fear asks, "What if it fails?" Faith responds, "What if it succeeds?" When you think about speaking up, fear warns of judgment, while faith reminds you of your truth. When you face uncertainty, fear demands guarantees, while faith encourages movement. These choices may seem small, but they accumulate, shaping your identity and your reality. Fear narrows your world. It limits your actions, your thinking, and your sense of what is possible. It keeps you within boundaries that feel safe but are ultimately restrictive. Over time, this creates a life that feels controlled yet unfulfilled. Opportunities pass unnoticed or are dismissed, not because they are not available, but because fear has trained you to overlook them. Faith expands your world. It opens you to possibilities you might otherwise ignore. It encourages exploration, growth, and resilience. When you choose faith, you begin to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. You become more adaptable, more creative, and more willing to take meaningful risks. This does not eliminate difficulty, but it changes your relationship with it. Choosing faith does not mean eliminating fear. Fear will still arise as it is part of being human. The difference lies in your response. Instead of allowing fear to dictate your actions, you acknowledge it and choose differently. You recognize that fear is a signal, not a command. It indicates that you are stepping beyond your comfort zone, that you are approaching growth. There is a strength that develops when you consistently choose faith. It is not loud or dramatic, but steady and reliable. You begin to trust yourself more, not because you always succeed, but because you know you will act despite uncertainty. This trust becomes a foundation, allowing you to navigate challenges with greater confidence. Faith also requires a shift in focus. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. If you constantly focus on what could go wrong, you reinforce fear. If you focus on what is possible, you strengthen faith. This is not about ignoring reality, but about choosing which aspects of reality you emphasize. You direct your thoughts toward outcomes that align with your intentions, rather than those driven by anxiety. The environment you create around yourself plays a role as well. Surrounding yourself with negativity, doubt, and constant criticism feeds fear. Choosing environments that support growth, positivity, and possibility nurtures faith. This includes not only people, but also the information you consume and the conversations you engage in. Faith is also expressed through action. It is not enough to believe, you must move. Each step taken in faith reinforces it, turning belief into experience. The more you act, the more evidence you gather that you can handle uncertainty, that progress is possible, that your efforts matter. This creates a cycle where faith leads to action, and action strengthens faith. There will be moments when fear feels overwhelming, when the unknown seems too great, when doubt creeps in despite your efforts. In these moments, the choice becomes even more significant. Choosing faith does not mean you feel ready. It means you act anyway. It means you refuse to let fear be the final voice. Over time, these choices reshape your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who moves forward, who takes risks, who embraces growth. This self-perception influences your future decisions, making it easier to choose faith again. What once felt difficult becomes natural, and what once seemed impossible becomes achievable. The difference between a life guided by fear and one guided by faith is profound. One is defined by avoidance, limitation, and missed opportunities. The other is characterized by growth, exploration, and fulfillment. Both involve uncertainty, but they lead to very different experiences. Choosing faith is not about perfection. There will be times when fear influences your decisions, when you hesitate or step back. What matters is your willingness to return to faith, to make the choice again in the next moment. Each decision is a new opportunity, a chance to realign with the path you wish to follow. You begin to understand that fear is not an enemy to be defeated, but a condition to be transcended through choice. It loses its power when it is no longer obeyed. Faith gains strength when it is practiced consistently. In every situation, no matter how small, you hold the ability to decide which force will guide you. This decision shapes not only your actions, but your mindset, your confidence, and your direction. It determines whether you move toward what you desire or remain held back by what you wish to avoid. You learn to recognize the subtle moments where fear tries to take control, and you respond with intention, choosing belief over doubt, movement over hesitation, possibility over limitation. Until faith becomes your default way of being, small daily choices that compound into destiny are often overlooked because they appear insignificant in the moment. They do not carry the intensity of life-changing decisions or dramatic turning points, yet they quietly shape the direction of your life with greater precision than any single event. What you repeat daily becomes what you embody, and what you embody determines the path you walk. Each day presents a series of simple decisions: what you focus on, how you respond, what you prioritize, what you avoid. These choices seem minor, almost automatic, yet they accumulate over time, forming patterns that define your habits, your mindset, and ultimately your results. Destiny is not created in a single moment, it is built through repetition. There is a tendency to underestimate the power of consistency. Many look for breakthroughs, for sudden transformations, for moments where everything changes at once. But true transformation is gradual. It is the result of small actions performed repeatedly, aligned with a clear intention. The decision to improve by even a small margin each day creates a trajectory that leads far beyond where you began. The challenge lies in the fact that these choices often lack immediate reward. Choosing discipline over comfort, focus over distraction, growth over ease. These decisions may not produce instant visible results. In fact, they may feel uncomfortable or inconvenient. This is where many lose momentum. They seek validation in the present moment, rather than trusting in the long-term effect of their actions. Every small choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you choose to act with intention, even in the smallest tasks, you reinforce an identity of discipline, clarity, and purpose. When you choose distraction, delay, or avoidance, you reinforce an identity of inconsistency. These identities are not fixed. They are shaped by what you repeatedly do.